Shantakaram bhujagashayanam padmanabham suresham Vishwadharam gagana sadrisham meghavarnam shubhangam Lakshmikantam kamalanayanam yogibhirdhyanagamyam Vande Vishnum bhavabhayaharam sarvalokaikanātham Āpadāmapahartāram dātāram sarvasampadām Lokābhiramam Shriramam Bhuyo Bhuyo Namamyaham. Greetings to all of you on this Ramanavami day. We pray Sri Rama. We pray God to save us from what the Shastras call Maya. And this webinar is not about some involved and complicated philosophy. It's not about Brahma Vidya directly. It is going to be a light sharing of some thoughts on Maya based on a Kriti, a short, sweet composition attributed to Ādi Shankarāchārya again, though I personally doubt whether all these short works were by him, whatever it is. So this is more to familiarize a short composition to all of you. For a good number among you, for some reason, may not have either heard at all about Mājā Panchakam, or even if you had heard, may not have got a chance to go into every line, every word of this composition. So it's a kind of desirable way of spending some time rather than getting engaged in something else. Let's take a look at this simple work, Mājā Panchakam. Just as there are Panchakams and Ashtakams on God forms, Maya seems to have said, why not a Panchaka for me also? Otherwise, I will increase the trouble I am causing in the world. And Vishnu would not have agreed so easily. But Shiva, Bole Baba must have said, okay, we'll have a composition for you. And Brahma, before even the request is completed, says, Tathastu. He is like those people who say, we'll handle it later, whatever the consequences are. Before the gods get angry with me for making these comments on them, let's go into the verses of this Mājā Panchakam. I will share the screen and I will request Vibhaji to send the text to all of you if she has not already sent. Later she will send, but for now we will see it on the screen. Yes. So that you may take a look at the verse as I explain. Share screen, and here it is. I don't know whether it is readable. Hope it is big enough. Mājā Panchakam, 5 verses on Maya. The first verse, for that matter, all the 5 verses are a way in which a certain teacher or a certain student laments, expresses his or her agony. What is this? How could this happen? How could such disharmony and such impossible things seem to happen? All this is because of Maya. Let's read the first verse. I will read and you please listen. Nirupama nitya niramshakepya khande Mayi chiti sarva vikalpanadi shunye Ghatayati jagadisha jiva bhedam Aghatita ghatana patiyasi maya. The fourth line repeats in all the 5 verses. This Maya is patiyasi. Patu means skillful, capable, able to do something. Krida patu, somebody who is good at sports. Patiyasi is the feminine form of that very word, patu. Aghatita ghatana patiyasi. Literally, aghatita means something that has not happened. But by force of context and probably by rudi, by common usage, the word here means, aghatita means what cannot happen. Ghatana, Maya will make that happen. Maya will make what is impossible possible. In the 70s, there was some movie, Amar Akbar Anthony in Bollywood. They took this line, Anhoni ko honi karna, honi ko anhoni, etc. More lines Swamijis are not supposed to know. So I am not going to tell more lines. What is impossible is made possible by Maya. So a quick look at what the shloka literally means. Every one of us is, as per the Vedanta, as per those great Upanishads, which we do not doubt at all, every one of us is Nirupama, incomparably great, Nitya, eternal, Niranshaka. There is no division possible in us. Brahma, the only truth of this universe, cannot admit the slightest division. Akhanda, unbroken. And I am Brahma. That is what the Upanishads say. Mai, in me. Chiti, in this pure consciousness, awareness principle, where sarva vikalpana adi shunye, all various options, high and low, bad or good, these are the possibilities. When somebody reports to you, I have become a father, you ask, girl or boy? Vikalpa. Somebody says, the results of examinations have come. You ask, passed or failed? Vikalpa, various choices, various options. And Brahma is nirvikalpa. Sarva vikalpanadi shunya. But in that Brahma, which is our nature, this Maya comes along and ghatayati, makes possible or makes things to happen. Like what? Jagadisha, God, Jiva. Or you may split it in 3 parts. Jagat, Isha and Jiva. Jagat, Isha and Jiva. Jagadisha, Jiva. The universe or the world, and a ruler called God, and you and me, the individual souls, helpless and hapless. How does this happen? This is Maya. Though I said we will not go into some serious philosophy in this session, I must make one mention for sure. There are lots of Vedanta schools which regard avidyā as bhavarupa, and then texts like Vedanta Sara say samashti avidyā is Maya. So avidya, ajnana, Maya are all said to be something there is. And from that which is, the universe comes about, and many phenomena, inexplicable phenomena also come about. This is a popular view, and it is not true. Maya is not something that resides in Brahma. The statement Brahmashraya Maya Asti is not quite correct. With due respect to those Prakarana Granthas, we tend to believe that somewhere those Prakarana Granthas lost the direction. Very soon after Ādi Shankarāchārya, his commentaries were a little misunderstood by some people who otherwise were great scholars. So, in the true interpretation of Ādi Shankara's Advaita Vedanta, Brahma alone is and nothing resides in Brahma. If there were to be Maya upon the Adhisthana of Brahma, that will become an unacceptable statement, because Brahma one and Maya two, and then that Maya creates everything. No. Then how did everything come into being? Mandukya Karika and allied literature puts the question back to us. The Siddhanta asks us, who is seeing the universe? And if we say, I'm seeing the mountains, I'm seeing the rivers, I am seeing this brother-in-law who gets on my nerve, I am seeing this wife who is very dear to me, and so on. I'm seeing. Maharshi Ramana comes along and says, that's the problem. Find out who this I is. The little I, which has a brother-in-law, which has a wife, which has Himalayas, which has the river, the little I is part of an error domain, and therefore it doesn't receive validity of existence. Error is error. Error is not substantial. Error is not something real. Don't make it another thing. In other words, whether you can take it or not, Mandukya Karikas have very clearly said nothing has actually got created at all. Shankara's Vivartavada. A snake did not come out of the rope even for a split second. The rope never became the snake. Likewise, Brahma never became the universe. And it's only in error of perception that itself is avidyā. Avidyā is seeing in something what it is not. Atasmin tad buddhihi avidyā. So, in that error domain, in the frame of reference of error, illusions appear in large number, countless numbers. And to explain things within that frame of reference of avidya, avidya bhumi antargate, not on par with avidya. Maya is not at the same level as avidya. First of all, avidya is not a thing, it is erroneous perception. But in erroneous perception, to provide a certain explanation, these Upanishads, some scriptures have used the word Maya. So Maya is no contender or competitor to Brahma. It doesn't have existence actually. And that is further justified by the explanation, Ya Ma Sa Maya. Ya means that which is, Ma means non-existent. Ya Ma Sa Maya is said. This Maya, therefore, is a teaching tool, as Mandukya Karika says, Nate Dvaitam Na Vidyate. Once the clearest insight dawns upon you, there is no duality at all. There is neither the cause nor the effect. There is neither Maya nor things produced by Maya. And Maya and its products playing within the frame of reference of avidya would all be invalidated. So the last line here is how a seeker expresses his anguish. How can this happen? Probably he or she is telling himself or herself, let me not chase Maya, let me remain Atmanishta, let me be established in Atma. Therefore, Atmanishto Bhavatvam, Atmachintanam Kuru, that is wisdom. If you pick these things which are Maya Krita, there is no end to it. As they call it, it's a wild goose chase. Finally, the goose disappears into the bushes. You are exhausted. Don't waste your life chasing this wild goose called Maya. Rather, stay put in Atma, in pure being, in that dimension of yours which is changeless, which is without any becoming possible in it. The second shloka continues the same form of wondering, feeling sad, and yet taking the right step finally of not bothering about this, staying as the Atma. Shruti Shata Nigamanta Shodhakanapi Ahaha Dhanadi Nidarshanena Sadhyaha Kalushayati Chatushpadadi Abhinnan Aghatita Ghatana Patiyasi Maya. The shlokas in a way caution us, warn us, beware of Maya. This Maya can delude even learned people. Shodhakan, who do research on hundreds of scriptures, Shruti Shata, and some other shastras classified as Nigama. They go to the deepest recesses of these scriptures. Shruti Shata Nigamanta Shodhakan api. Even that kind of scholars, this Maya, Dhanadi Nidarshanena, tempts them with money, with pleasure, with position, with praise, and so on. Sometimes Maya frightens them, threatens them. So both attractions and threats are to be looked at with suspicion. When Prince Siddhartha sat in meditation, first there came beautiful women, drinks, good food, music, all of them attractive. He did not budge. Then there came demons, there came ugly creatures who seemed to pour blood and flesh, meat, etc. in front of him. He stood rather sad without being affected. So Maya's work is like that. You and I could be at places unnecessarily attracted to things. Another time, unnecessarily provoked. We get very angry. We think of taking revenge on somebody. We decide to teach a lesson to somebody and all that. All that is ahaha, as the second line says. Kalushayati, all that is ways in which Maya dirties, makes impure our antakarana. And then we behave chatushpada adi abhinna. Bhinna means different. Abhinna means we are no different from the four-legged creatures like dogs or monkeys, like bulls or some other creatures, four-legged creatures. We would act without thinking what is right, what is wrong. Oh, agatita gatana patiyasi maya. Then in the third verse, it is said, Sukachida vibodham advitiyam viyad analadi vinirmite niyojya Brahmayati bhavasagare nitantam aghatita ghatana patiyasi Maya. Once Narada asked Mahavishnu, what is Maya? In this well-known story, which I will narrate very quickly, for I do not think anybody does not know this. Vishnu said, Narada, I will definitely tell you what Maya is, but first get me a glass of water. Somehow, because of all this climate change, global warming and whatever, I'm feeling very thirsty. Narada says, sure, my lord. And from Vaikuntha, he goes down to the earth and he goes to some house, knocks at the door, asking for a glass of water. And the door opens and a very pretty young woman with a very sweet voice said, Sir, why are you standing there? Please come in and take a seat. The rest of it, we don't know how it happened. He got so attached to the family. He married her, had 7, I think, children. Years passed, and then one day, even as he had enjoyed and suffered, went on the roller coaster ride of worldly life, one day the whole village had to face some kind of flood. Water came gushing and houses were getting submerged. Somehow Narada, holding 2 children, one child on his shoulder, managed to stay above water, maybe climbing the roof of the house and whatnot. Dramatize it as you like. But no, water was rising, the water level was rising. And when it came to his nose, he could no more hold any child. He was trying to save himself. That is when he cried out, Narayana, Narayana. In this very humorous story, that is when Narada finds himself back in Vaikuntha, exactly where he was standing when Vishnu asked him to get a glass of water. No water, no glass in hand, and Vishnu smiles and says to Narada, Narada, where is my glass of water? It is said there was no discourse needed. Narada understood what Maya was or what Maya is. You and I learn these stories, but these stories also do not save us from some false pursuit in the world. Therefore, the third shloka says, I am, as the revelations of the Upanishads go, I am Sukha, bliss, Chit, pure consciousness, Akhanda, unbroken, Vibodha, of the nature of knowledge. I am the light, which lends light to anything else, everything else. Tameva bhantam anubhati sarvam, tasya bhasa sarvam idam vibhati, advitiyam. I am one without a second. However, this Maya comes along and niyojya, it connects me, it binds me with this body, which is made of Viyat, space, Anala, fire, Adi. That is, Akasha, Vayu, Agni, Jala, and Prithvi, the 5 elements. It as though binds me in this body made of 5 elements. Brahmayati makes me go around and round. Bhavasagare, in this vast ocean of worldly life, rising and falling. In Mundaka Upanishad Bhashya, Ādi Shankarāchārya says, the life of an individual soul, Jivatma, is like Alaburu Jale, a dried pumpkin, hollow. It is dried. Somehow it has fallen on maybe a river And as there are some waves on the river because of winds, this alabu is a pumpkin or some sort of a uh, gourd, as we call those vegetables which have a shell and inside they get squash or something they call it. So alabu, a dried vegetable that floats, goes up and down. You and I also happy at times, so depressed at other times. Bhavasagare nithantam agatita gatana patiyasi maya. Maya makes what is technically or theoretically impossible possible all the same. And the fourth shloka further tells us apagata guna varna jati bhede sukha chiti vipra vit adi ahankritincha sputayati sutadara geha moham aghatita ghatana patiyasi maya. I am the pure self Sachidananda, where apagata, struck off. Apagata means removed, dismissed. In me, all such labels, such as guna, sattvic, rajasic, tamasic, varna, brahmana, kshatriya, vaishya, shudra, jati, the birth, who my parents were, etc. So all these labels and descriptions cannot come anywhere near me. Can you ever ask about space, akasha? Can you ever ask some question which applies to gross, small objects, red or blue, heavy or light, long or short, cold or hot? They don't apply to space. They don't apply to akasha tattva. Likewise, varna, jati, guna, and dravya, kriya, these do not apply to the pure self. I am sukha chit, in me, of the nature of ananda and pradnana, samvit. What can we say? This maya brings in ahankriti, various forms of ahankara. Someone comes and says, do you know I am a brahmana, vipra. I have studied Vedas. You must stand up as soon as I enter the room. Ha ha ha. One ahankara. Another man comes or a lady comes. I am Vit. Vit means Vaishya. Vipra Vidadi. I'm the richest businessman in the town. Do you know my net worth? Have you ever come and seen what an empire I have built of so many shops and other? I have several factories outside the city, and these showrooms themselves are enough to make you faint. I am so rich. So Vaishya, lady or man, has that ahankara. Kshatriyas have their ahankara. Shudras have their ahankara. Personality types, so to say. Sputayati, in me, Maya comes along and makes things to open up. Sputana is opening like a flower blossoms. I was pure awareness, and then there arose a sense of, I am a Kshatriya. Come on, take this sword, go on war. It also makes all the sons or daughters, wife or husband, dara, houses, geha, moha. There comes about moha with respect to sutadara, geha. And you add anything else. People are attached to small and big things. Nagatita gatana patiyasi maya. So what are the shlokas telling us? In one word, the shlokas are telling us Jagrata, Jagrata. Tasmat Jagrata, Jagrata. Kamakrodhadi Taskaraha. The thieves are in your body. Dehe tishtanti Taskaraha. Gnana Ratna Apaharaya. Tasmat Jagrata, Jagrata. So how do we stay careful? You can't decide just to be careful and continue all your bad habits. Watch television endlessly, or nowadays internet and those things. Drink of anything whenever you feel like drinking. Eat anything whenever you feel like eating. Swami Chinmayananda said, not to do what you feel like doing is freedom. We have a misconception about freedom. We think freedom is doing whatever we want to do. But at times, Swamiji doesn't mean all the time, at times through Viveka, we clearly see, I feel like doing this, but I should not do it. And through Viveka, we do not do what we felt like doing. Then that is true freedom of the soul. Inwardly we are free. Outwardly it might be we stopped ourselves from doing something. Don't see that surface level action. Inwardly you are able to hold your ground. So the shlokas are asking us, exercise more viveka. There is a saying in the Vedanta Shastras, Vicharam na sahate Maya. Vicharam na sahate avidyā, ajnanam. Maya cannot bear, cannot tolerate, cannot stand the light and heat of vichara. Therefore, inquire. You made mistakes yesterday and today. If in the next 7 days you don't want to make the same mistake again, do something which increases the chance of your making that mistake again. That is, in food, in sleep, in talking. Maharshi Ramana said, Sattvic food in moderate quantity is the best of good habits. If you have the habit of taking sattvic food, though spicy, delicious, some other kind of food is tempting, you say, well, my tongue likes that food, but I am not going to go by my tongue. Something which is nutritious, which is also tasty, but the unsteady mind may want that so-called other tasty food. Not that sattvic food is tasteless. It's tasty. It is simple. So you are hungry and you have all kind of spicy food, but you also have an apple which you yourself brought. Eat it, please. You have a cucumber, cut it and take some salad. You have some green tea. You already had 2 cups of coffee and tea. Go have a cup of green tea for a change. In this way, if not fully, in stages, in parts, change your lifestyle. Go for a short walk or a long walk preferably. Then the chance of falling a prey to old vasanas become much less. Then Maya would say, let's leave this fellow out. Maya will go after others in a manner of saying. The last shloka tells us now, Vidhi Hari Hara Bhedamapi Akhande Bata Virachaya Budhanapi Prakamam Brahmayati Harihara Vibheda Bhavan Aghatita Ghatana Patiyasi Maya. The third line should have at the end the word Bhavan, because the last but one syllable, if you see all the lines, 4 lines in every shloka, 5 verses, so 20 lines we have. in all the quarters, 20 quarters of the 5 shlokas. The last but one is Guru. That is how sometimes we check and verify. First you feel a bit uncomfortable while chanting. Hari Hara Vibheda Bhavan. Doesn't sound well. Then should it be Bha? And then you see this verse itself. Khan is Khande. Guru. Kamam, second line. Ka is Guru. But the last line, Maya, Ma is Guru. Therefore, this cannot be Bha. Brahmayati Harihara Vibheda Bhavan. Please correct it in the copy you will get. In Brahman, where there is not even the distinction of Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, and so on, Brahman is Akhanda, undivided. Bhata, oh, that's an exclamation. Budhanapi prakamam virachaya. Even Buddha, learned people, are deluded. Brahmayati, the Maya confuses them. Maya thinks of Hari, Hara, and Brahma, etc. Makes those scholars think of them as separate. And some scholars say we are Vaishnavas, we are greater. Some say we are Shaivas. So they have attachment to one form of God. They look down at another form of God. And the net result is gods are very smart. They keep away from these people. But these people fight with each other with swords and other weapons. Harihara Vibheda Bhavan Virachaya Budhanapi Prakamam Brahmayati. Prakamam means Yateshtam. That means Maya makes them confused and then get down to fight as much as it desires. Prakamam. Yatha kamam. Agatita gatana. Patiyasi Maya. Therefore, this hymn or this is not exactly a hymn of any God form. It's maybe a satire. Maybe it is an expression of a spiritual student's surprise, astonishment. She is taken aback what Maya can do on this earth. Therefore, on a higher level, let me say this and complete, for students of Vedanta, the message is be more regular with devoted study of Vedanta Shastra. Vedanta Shastra, taught by competent teachers, will again and again help you to handle this matter. As you study the Vedanta from teachers who, if you are fortunate enough, are scholarly as well as living the life of a Brahmanishta or as close as possible to that. Sincere. They are not just playing around with their scholarship. They are themselves mumukshus. They are themselves seekers of truth. And when you associate with them and listen to them, you definitely will change. Your lower attachments get weakened and the higher attachments to Guru, Shastra and Ishvara will put everything in its place. Therefore, beware of Maya. As Sri Ramakrishna's parable goes, some fish in the river went very near the feet of the fisherman as he threw the net on the water. So many fish which were trying to run away were caught, but the few fish which were very near his feet, and they were not caught by the net. What a sweet example. Therefore, Sri Ramakrishna says, hold the feet of God, and Maya will not touch you. Therefore, in small ways we must begin. Start small and grow big, as the management slogan also says. We must move towards our own emancipation. Hari Om. Jai Shri Ram. Jai Shri Ram. I am sure some people have some questions.
Swamiji, Hari Om, this is Pravina.
Tell me. Yes, Pravina.
Swamiji, so then to summarize, what is the true association of Maya to Brahma?
Maya, at the height of it, doesn't exist at all. But we have to talk about it because we are in a deluded condition. It's like Swami Chinmayananji used to narrate very dramatically and with wonderful communication skills. A boy in a somewhat pious family did not want to go, but one day friends took him to some restaurant, and then he saw that they were all getting ready to eat meat and wine, whiskey, etc. He said, "No, my parents will be shocked and my mother will be totally upset. Why did you bring me here?" And somehow before he could say that, somebody had given him a little bit of some alcohol. He got a bit, out of balance. But the friends were also not too bad. They said, "Oh, we made a mistake. We should not have brought this friend of ours to this restaurant where we are all going to have alcohol and meat, everything." So they actually took him in an auto rickshaw, old story, put him back in his house. But by then, as Swamiji used to describe, the boy was so disturbed, he didn't even realize that he had already come home. His mother and father received him and put him on a bed. He was screaming, "Take me home, take me home, take me home." See, he is already home, but he was continuing to yell, scream, "Take me home." Then you see, the father and mother first say, "You are already home." He doesn't understand. "Take me home," he is crying. Then the father and mother pat him and say, "That's what we will do. We have called for a taxi and we will take you home with this taxi." So you are as though accepting the belief in that boy that he is away from home. He is not. And therefore, from the highest point of view, Maya is non-existent. But we see, like that boy who is saying, "Take me home," we see that we are attracted to a larger house. We are attracted to some promotion, some position in another company where I may get more salary. Day and night we think about it. This is ground reality. Therefore, we need to act on it, use viveka, and so on. So your question was, what is Maya's relation to Brahma? It's like asking, what is the relation of the horns on my head with my head? I don't have horns on my head. Tejo Mayananji jokes. He asked in some class, "Do you see horns on my head?" And one lady like you said, "Not yet, Swamiji. So far, no." So, non-existent, So really no relation.
Thank you, Swamiji.
But we need to do, because we are on that level where illusions are disturbing us.
Yes, Ranjanji, you may ask question. He has raised the hand.
Ranjan.
Hari Om, Swamiji. It was
Yes,
it was good to see you again. Yeah, so I just came across these days a thing like a shloka Bhaja Govindam. That's also attributed to Ādi Shankarāchārya.
Yes.
You said in the beginning that this could or could not be associated, attributed to Adi Shankarāchārya. So is Bhaja Govindam also the similar one, like Adi Shankarāchārya?
Yeah. It's also possibly by other people,
Okay.
though they have included him in the story of the Bhaja Govindam. One day Shankarāchārya was climbing up the steps after taking bath in Ganga. All that they have done. In spite of it, we sometimes wonder whether it could be a Shankarāchārya of a later time period. Because even today we have Shankarāchārya in Kanchi, in Sringeri, in Dwarka, in Puri, in Joshimath, and even many other Shankara Mats, there are Shankarācharyas.
Right.
In Karnataka, there is, in addition to Sringeri, there is something called Yedtore Shankarāchārya. He is very close to Narendra Modi, and recently he has been very active. This second Shankarāchārya in Karnataka, not the one in Sringeri. Sringeri itself has two Shankarācharyas, Mahasannidhanam and Sri Sannidhanam. Both of them are called Shankarāchārya. Therefore, Bhaja Govindam might have been composed by another Shankarāchārya. But we Hindus, by and large, have not bothered much about what exact time some compositions were written and who actually wrote and so on. Historical dimensions somehow were not given importance by us for good or bad reasons. We don't know.
Mr. Ramurthy.
I've got one more actually. Sorry, I just wanted. There's just recently I've been involved with a lot of the stroke and mind and brain, those kind of things which I've looked at scientifically actually. So in fact, whatever we have in the memory is all in the mind, right? It's kind of, if the brain is a little bit affected during stroke, you just do not even realize where you are, what you are and everything. So it's the Maya becomes really, can see it. I mean, it's kind of thing. So I mean, do you call it Maya, what do you call the arrangements in the mind itself? I mean, it's very scientifically, you can see it happening in the people who have stroke actually. So and who have problems in the brain.
Two sides of the same coin. There is an outer deception and an inner damage. They go together. Yeah, they go hand in hand. In philosophy, sometimes we have a question. When something bad happens, is it my karma or is it the position of these planets? So there also we say it's both. The master designer of this universe does many things in synchronicity. The planetary positions and my doing some very foolish thing, then paying for it, all happen in synchronicity.
No, actually, I meant if the brain cells are dead in the brain, right? Those kind of, that part of the brain is affected. Then you just do not even remember where you are, what you are doing, and it's all like the Maya just goes off, and you are in a different world again.
Yeah. So, but nothing is
permanent.
So when the organism ends its stay in this particular body with all those damages, the soul in this body gets a new body. Then everything again is revived. Like a computer that faulted, the technician comes and sorts it out. Again it will boot, and again one by one the applications also start working. So a new hardware is supplied. A new hardware and new storage media, all are supplied to the soul, the living spark.
Exactly.
Yeah, the spark of life gets all the components of the whole equipment, hardware and software, afresh. Okay, somebody else was trying to raise.
His hands is raised.
Hari Om.
Okay, I think Ramesh Krishnamurti first.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Probably a quick question, Swamiji. In the beginning, you gave us a little, so some of your comments on avidyā and Maya.
Correct.
Can you spend a minute or so on such comments between Maya and Adhyasa?
Well, Adhyasa and avidya are one and the same. Adhyasa is an erroneous seeing. As I gave the Sanskrit definition, atasmin tad buddhi. Atasmin means in what it is not. In what it is not, I have a notion of it. That is, in what is not a snake, I have a notion it's a snake. In what is not a silver, I have a notion it is silver, while actually it is a seashell. So in what is not X, I have a notion that it is X. So that is adhyasa, that itself is avidya. So there are some schools of thought which say that every individual has this avidya or this ajnana, and then the ajnanas of all together becomes Maya. That I said is not acceptable to this interpretation that I go by. I go by the very erudite interpretation of Swami Sachidanandendra Saraswati, Holanersipura. He has examined all this in great detail and he has given this view. So it's a very vast topic, but once you get the hang of it, the primary factors are clear, everything falls in place. So you said, can you spend 2 minutes to sum up the short answer? Erroneous seeing is the basis of all this. And then in that field of erroneous seeing, avidya bhumi, all the phenomena are described as emerging from Maya. So Maya is a concept introduced at that point. It's not the same as avidya. It's not the same as adhyasa. So avidya and adhyasa are also called nescience, superimposition, and so on. It's very fascinating, but it requires a separate discussion. Somewhere we can do separately.
Thank you, Swamiji.
Yes, Rani.
Yes. Rani, right?
Yeah.
And Julia ji. Julia.
After Rani, Julia.
Hari Om Swamiji, you said Maya does not exist. So if it is non-existent, how to understand that something that is non-existent can affect ghatita ghatana, can make us, can change us? That I could not fathom. I could not understand.
So that which affects and that which is affected are together an appearance. You are Brahma, and as Brahma you are not affected at all. But if there is erroneous perception that you are such and such person, that person is seen to be affected. There is a humorous story. Vaishya was conducting a class and he elaborately explained to his audience how everything was mithya. Brahma alone is satya. Brahma satyam, jagan mithya. Exactly at that time, in the middle of the class, a mad elephant came towards the class. And the mad elephant was so scary. All the girls and boys got up and ran. And Vaishya also ran. Later on, luckily nobody was hurt. When they gathered again, one brahmacharini girl got up and said, all of us are ignorant, we are students. So it's understandable that we ran for life. Because for us, though we have heard all these discourses, the mad elephant for us was not mithya. But sir, you are enlightened, you are the guru, why did you run? Wasn't the elephant mithya for you? in the story, at the end, it's wonderfully said. Vasishtha, old man, heaving and gasping, said with a smile on his face, "You are right, you are right. I am the Acharya. I knew the elephant was mithya. I knew and I know also. But tell you, what you saw, some old man running, was not me. The Vasishtha who ran was also mithya. The real I never ran. I am sarvavyapi. How can I run at all?" He said. Therefore, this business of A affecting B, we think of A only as mithya. B also is mithya, and Brahmajnani knows that his body may run or his body may get crushed. In this story, there could be another version of the Vasishtha and mithya class. Another version, the mad elephant finished off Vasishtha. When the students came back, there was only the mangled body of Vasishtha. Even in that story, no problem with Vedanta. The intelligence in Vasishtha would have smiled even as the body got crushed.
Right.
Yeah.
Can I
That won't be
understand?
recorded by even the best video recorder. The intelligence is not captured by videos.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Can they then, as long as there is Deha Buddhi, body identification, one gets affected?
Yeah.
That's what ultimately it means. Maya affects the one who identifies himself with the body.
Correct. And that one who identifies with body is not the real you.
No, that's not the real you. Yes.
See, that's where in this context, I could have brought this even while answering Ramesh Krishnamurthy. The most wonderful question answer in Shankara's commentary on 13th chapter, verse number 2 is relevant. The Purva Pakshi asks, who has avidya? And the Siddhanti answers, the one who is asking the question has avidya. Yeah. It doesn't say the student has avidya, teacher doesn't have, or the Indriyas have avidya, Manas has avidya, Buddhi has avidya, nothing. He doesn't say any of those. He says, one who is asking the question. Then the question will be, who is that one? That you better find out. Just as Ramana, he says, who has sorrow? And we may get a little irritated, but because it's Maharshi, we may hold ourselves back. Swami, what are you asking? I am telling you last half an hour, I have sorrow. And Ramana says with a smile, find out what that I is.
Who is that?
Is that real? Is that your real I? Yes. Are you really that? So the sufferer is part of the domain of suffering, where at the so-called other end, there are factors which cause suffering. The factors causing suffering and the entity that is at the receiving end, that whole domain is erroneous perception. That is adhyasa.
Okay.
Yes, Miss Julia, you can.
Thank you, Swami. Thank you.
Julia, how are you doing? I
Hariom,
thought
Swamiji.
you stopped walking and settled in some country on the earth, but you are still walking on. Huh?
I am still in India only.
Oh, you are in India only. You took India as your home. Where? In Pune?
In Pune, in Pune University.
Wonderful. Tell me, you have any question?
Swamiji, I want to understand more the concept of Maya. I want to know if Maya is the matter, the creation, or Maya is avidyā. And because avidyā, we see Brahma as matter, body, universe, so on. I don't understand clearly what is.
Fine, you have asked very well. I have said this in the lecture. Avidya is a general word we use for a state of affairs where there is an absence of right seeing. It's a state of affairs. In that state of affairs, a whole lot of causes and effects come into the picture. And a very basic cause is labeled Maya. It's a teaching tool. It's a, a word that comes handy for communicators. When there is ignorance, when there is erroneous seeing, Maya kicks in. Maya begins its game. We say that. So Maya is a conceptual basis for all that is happening. A learned man, for some money, stops his sadhana and wastes his time in money. We say, look at how Maya is affecting him. So Maya is a handy word, helpful word to explain irrational, illogical behavior on the part of people. So Maya is not avidya itself. In the scenario of avidya, Maya is the conceptual basis for foolish things to happen.
Yes, but the creation, the universe, everything is Maya or is Brahma and...
Oh yeah, some Prakarana Granthas say that, Vedanta Sara, Tattva Bodha and so on. We would not fully agree with them. We would say, if you like to make that model, go ahead, God bless you. But one thing that you say is not at all acceptable. They say individual ajnana is first mentioned, and ajnana of millions of jivas summed up is Maya. That is not acceptable. So we have a different view. Because the problem there is as though everybody really has ajnana. Ajnana is not a thing. Bhava in Sanskrit means something that is. So ajnana is not bhava rupa. Whereas these Prakarana Granthas call ajnana bhava rupa. It is something which is. If you say it is, then Brahman is, ajnana is, then where is non-duality?
Yes, because
Non-duality
Brahma is only one, is all pervading. And then if Maya doesn't exist, but whatever exists is Brahma. No,
yes,
it's not
yes.
like this.
Correct. Whatever exists is Brahma only. Therefore, in what is called erroneous perception, these things get a sort of validity. They really do not exist. Think about it. We'll have to discuss it. Okay, one last question, if there is.
On the chat box, my Musta has written, typed some question.
Okay.
What is that?
Okay, go from top.
With Swamiji,
Coming from top, there is something Vivo 119 notes. Are we also saying before that?
may I?
I think it is in your direct chat box.
Oh, really?
I asked Swamiji, would you please clarify why the mind experiences at the individual level in the dream state, but at the cosmic level in the waking state?
Oh.
I don't know if that is relevant right now.
So are there two chat boxes? One is
chat box, but there is a direct message and a message to everyone. So this is, I think, direct message to Swamiji. Fifth message it is.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. My Stroke of Insight, a brain scientist's personal journey by Jill Bolte Taylor. Yeah, I watched that video. Right brain, left brain, etc. And Lata Sonpalji says, what's the title of the book with chapter 13 and verse 2? I said, verse 2. That there are many. There is a translation of Shankara's commentary on Gita by Gambhirananda, by Warrior, by there are 2 or 3. You go to any Ramakrishna Mission Center, ask for an English translation of Shankara's commentary on Gita. You'll get that. Ranjan Desai's question we already dealt with. Alzheimer's disease, brain damage.
This question, my Musta's question.
Swamiji, would you please unmute me? So my Musta is muted.
No. Before that, this was earlier. It is at 9 o'clock.
Yeah, right now I am muted.
You speak then. Ask your question by talking.
I'm trying to clear my, the question was, would you explain why the mind experiences in the dream state, the individual level, and in we experience the cosmic level in the waking state? I don't know if that is relevant right now.
These are some models used by teachers, you see, and this is not a standard explanation. They have used some models to lift your mind, and on higher level, the division between individual and cosmic vanishes. So that might be a particular model. Yes, you have written here also. Would Swamiji please clarify why the mind experiences at the individual level in the state of dream, but at the cosmic level in the state of waking? So these are not complete truths. That is how the waking ego describes it. That is, say, I am awake and I see, let us say, I come to United States, I see the Statue of Liberty. Then many others are saying, oh, all of us are seeing this. But last night in my hotel room, I saw an elephant coming to me. That was my own private dream. So that's my private dream. I saw an elephant. But here, as I'm watching Liberty Statue, there are thousands of people who also are at the monument. So I make this distinction. But who is speaking? The Jagrat, the waking individual. So the waking individual has made himself have the jurisdiction. He is like the person deciding what is cosmic, what is individual. Actually, his credentials are to be questioned. Who gave him the right to call what he is presently perceiving as cosmic and what he perceived in his dream as individual? That credentials are to be questioned. At best, therefore, what he is blabbering passes for a model worth considering at the moment. But then these cosmic and individual divisions are very questionable. It's better to just say all of them are an illusion and witnessing consciousness alone is the truth. That would be a wiser and healthier position.
Thank you, Swamiji.
All right, we shall stop at this point and we will announce the next webinar probably after 2 weeks, skipping one Sunday. Namaste, everybody. Bye.
Namaste.